But some of the most amazing stuff that's going on is going on down in Georgia. And down in Georgia, we've got an amazing new film. Of course, Herschel Walker in Georgia, too. An amazing new film coming out from Greg Palast. It's the investigative reporter, author of several books, including The Best Democracy Money Can Buy. The movie's called Vigilante, Georgia's vote suppression hitman, produced by Martin Sheen. It is debuting this week. You can get all the information at gregpalast.com. Greg also tweets at Greg_Palast. Greg, welcome back to the program. Tell us...
From Atlanta.
Yeah. Tell us about the movie.
Okay, the movie's simple. Vigilante, Georgia's vote suppression hitman, is about Brian Kemp, who has activated 88 vigilante voters who've challenged more than 250,000 voters. This is under Brian Kemp's new law, SB 202. This could completely change the outcome of the election. Despite his baby-making proficiency, Herschel Walker is still in a dead heat with Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock, and Abrams and Kemp are neck and neck. And this could make the difference, challenging 250,000 voters. So today we're having a special activist preview sponsored by NAACP and other voting rights organizations. And we are having with us in Atlanta today the military's expert on warfare of the future, whose vote was challenged because he was sent to California by the President of the United States to protect America. So they challenged his vote, saying, well, he's at a California military base, so he doesn't live in Georgia anymore, so he can't vote. He had to. So what I want to do is give you a little clip of the guy who challenged him and the major. Now, you're going to meet the major, but before that, and in the film, you will see a guy named, he's a GOP county chairman.
Greg, you'll have to describe that because we took that out of the clip.
No, that's fine.
It didn't work on audio for radio.
That's right. He's a GOP party chairman. He dresses up like a vigilante, Doc Holliday. He came to our interview with loaded 6 guns and a cowboy hat, and because he loves to play this part. And he has challenged 4,000 voters in just his county, including all these African-American soldiers out of Fort Benning, including Major Gamaliel Turner. And you're going to meet Turner, the guy who is challenged.
Here's the clip of Turner.
Major Gamaliel Turner is the military's expert on future warfare.
I project weapons and capabilities out to the future. For me, it's all about the survival of the soldier.
Assigned to Fort Hueneme in California.
So you're telling me 2,600 miles away, 2 days or 3 days before an election, that if I want to vote, all I have to do is show up and prove as an American citizen that I have the right to vote again? You talk to fools like that. You talk to fools like that. I'm not a fool.
Yeah, this is all about Brian Kemp's efforts. Greg?
Yes, and by the way, for activists, that we're making the film available for just a week or so. At gregpalast.com, starting tomorrow night, you'll be able to click through and watch this film narrated by Rosario Dawson. By the way, George DiCaprio is also a producer on the film with Martin Sheen. And it also explains how Brian Kemp's family was the first family to bring enslaved Africans to Georgia over the violent and fierce objections of the locals who were against slavery in Georgia. This was done just before the Civil War. And in fact, Thomas Jefferson, a friend of the Kemp family, was completely objected to bringing in new slaves into the Americas, into Georgia, where it was the one territory that was actually where slavery was prohibited. Brian Kemp's, that's the source of Brian Kemp's power and wealth, plus all the vote suppression shenanigans, which we've covered over the years, as I did for you, for Rolling Stone. And the film, which is narrated by Rosario, you should take a look at it. But you can also go to gregpalast.com and get that full clip. And you can see the vigilante who dresses like a vigilante. I also, of course, confront another one of these GOP vigilantes who challenged, are you ready? 32,000 voters, one person. She handed in a thumb drive. She couldn't even print out the list of people she was trying to knock off. This could change the election. I'm not saying whether you should vote for Kemp or Herschel Walker or anyone else. It would be nice if the voters of Georgia got to pick their own senator and governor.
So the bottom line here is that a 250,000 people in Georgia have been selected by these 40 some odd individuals, if I'm remembering the number correctly.
88, yeah.
Yeah, 88 individuals have selected these 250,000 people, predominantly black people, I'm guessing, and
overwhelmingly black, and the white ones are basically young people. In other words, voters of color, the color blue.
Voters of color and college students and the like. And now under this law in Georgia, all 250,000 of these people have to go to a local elections office and prove that they are eligible to vote, or when they show up to vote, they'll be given a placebo ballot, or they'll be turned away?
Yes, and what you have to understand is that most of these people are people who are in the military or students and others who are away and ask for absentee ballots. Well, they're absent. So like the major said in the clip, he had to travel, and he did, by the way, 2,600 miles.
He flew back to Georgia just to be able to cast his vote?
Oh, understand, you will meet his father in the film. His father is Harold Turner, Reverend Harold Turner, who co-founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference with Martin Luther King and Ralph Abernathy. This is a major civil rights family, and they took away his vote. He wasn't going to stand for it. And you have to understand the NAACP and others are going to fight this tooth and nail, but it's very, very difficult. I was at a hearing last night. There were 37,000 more challenges were mounted by the GOP. 37,000 more in one county, Gwinnett.
Which is a largely black county.
Yes. And so what's happening is you have this massive attack on the right to vote. So we want people to know to check their registrations. If they're challenged, we give them that number. Just go to gregpalast.com where you'll get the information on how to see the film starting tomorrow night, Wednesday night. And also how to look up whether you have been challenged.
Now, is
That's
this
very important?
Georgia has always been kind of the epicenter of the most obscene of voter suppression. We certainly saw that, 2 years ago in the election, where between Stacey Abrams and Brian Kemp, where
That's right.
He won. I put that in quotes, scare quotes, by 50,000 votes, but he had just prior to the election thrown well over 100,000 people off the voting rolls.
Almost 500,000, actually.
500,000, wow.
And what we found there is that 340,000 people were illegally removed. In 2020, we found 198,000 illegally removed. I went with Black Voters Matter, which is also sponsoring the film, into federal court. And we were able to basically reverse most of these removals. And that's the only reason. If you didn't have, again, we put back over 100,000 people on the voter rolls. Otherwise, Agent Orange would be president right now. Remember that.
That's right. Georgia was a swing state.
Georgia's 12,000 votes.
So, Greg, is anything at this scale or using this theory of governance or of voting happening in any other state other than Georgia?
Oh, yes, because the hit lists were created mostly by the group out of Texas, True the Vote, backed by the billionaire Bradley family out of Wisconsin. So we are seeing these they test drive everything in Georgia. That's why I'm always back down in Georgia doing these investigations, whether for you or Rolling Stone or whatever. But they test drive it in Georgia. We're seeing now these challenges prop up in Texas, Iowa, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania. Now, Georgia is the only state which actually puts into its law that any single voter can challenge an unlimited number of voters. That's why this woman handed in a thumb drive with 32,000 names from True the Vote from Texas. By the way, if you're voting illegally, you shouldn't vote illegally, but they haven't found one single case. Brian Kemp has removed way over 500,000 voters. He shut down voting rights groups. He's threatening one of the groups we work with, New Georgia Project, which is also involved in the film, with putting their leaders in prison for 10 years, because supposedly, by the way, they sent in registration forms 2 days late, so they're facing a 10-year prison sentence for supposed ballot tampering. This is what Kemp is doing. And so it's being picked up everywhere else. And that's the problem. Cross-check was started here and in Kansas. and we were able to.
This is very similar to the stuff that Viktor Orban has been doing in Hungary for the last 6 or 8 years.
You think that they're not in communication? This is an international movement, and by the way, their putative leader is Vlad Putin, who is the great right-wing leader. But again, Georgia has a little bit of Russia going on here with this new law, SB 202. So what makes this law new is that any voter can challenge an unlimited number of voters. A lot of these challenges are being rejected, saying, how could you possibly know if these 4,000 people are illegal voters? And by the way, the vigilante with the 6 guns, and we may make fun of him, but he's on the state committee. He's very close to Brian Kemp. He's chairman of the local party. He says, I don't really know who these people are. We actually have him in the film. We invite him to the home of Major Turner. The guy, he says, didn't live at this home.
Right.
So he's literally, and he meets the major. The major confronts him and says, I was sent to California to serve my country. You challenged my vote. You've never talked to me. You don't even know what house you're in. And yet you say, I don't live here. I said, do you know what house you're in? And you're in the house of the soldier that you said doesn't
how did he
live
respond
here.
to that?
He started mumbling and stuttering, and he was asked, the major just wanted him to apologize. He said, well, I can't apologize. It's the state's fault. the state, Brian Kemp made me do it. Come on.
Amazing stuff.
This is a big problem for this election.
The movie is Vigilante. You can read all about it at gregpalast.com, Palast, gregpalast.com. And of course, Greg_Palast on Twitter. Greg, keep up the great work, my friend.
Oh, I'll try.
Yeah, there you go. And it's planned down in Georgia, but you can watch it nationwide. Gregpalast.com. We'll be right back. It's 46 minutes.